It is Friday, May 6th in the year 2022, and it's time for the weekly roundup, in which we're going to take a look at two big insights from Richard's success story that I hope you'll find really valuable. But before you do, as always, I want to share with you what's been happening this week so you can see if there's anything you want to take a deeper dive into. So yeah, stay tuned for Richard's insights. But before that, Monday, we had Insomnia Insight. And we looked at exposure therapy, which is a very common method for helping with phobias and things of that nature. For example, we're afraid of spiders, and we can see that exposing ourselves to that ultimately is what makes us less scared of them, like facing what we fear, so to speak. And I think that this episode can be helpful if you find that what we talk about here on this channel is a little bit woo-woo out there, you don't really understand it. Well, you can see that befriending wakefulness, which we talk about so much here, really the idea behind befriending wakefulness is the same idea as behind exposure therapy. So it can lend some credibility to how we think of troubles, the struggle with sleep here. But also, I think there are some tricky things with the traditional approach of exposure therapy, and that's why I said on the thumbnail the problem with exposure therapy. So I think there can be something there for you to learn if this sounds interesting to you. Tuesday, we had heard online, and it was Mario who had read an article that made him a little bit worried, because it seemed to suggest that if you fall asleep in more than 30 minutes, this can be detrimental to your sleep health. And this was another trip down the rabbit hole, so to speak, into bizarro land is maybe how I should put it. It just showed again how strange sleep research is. Not all of it, but a lot of it is really strange. And we saw that there was really nothing in that article that backs up any such claim. But if you want to learn more about that, of course, check out Heard Online from Tuesday. Wednesday, we had our second ever Insomnia Open class that was live. There were several questions. Libby had read Set It and Forget It and had this sleep honeymoon where she slept really well for a period of time, but then had some trouble sleeping. And she tried rereading Set It and Forget It, but this time it didn't work. There's much there to learn, including about the sleep honeymoon and including how easily things become efforts. So definitely something to check out if you thought that could be helpful to you. Yesterday we had Talking Insomnia with Rob, and really, I thought that was an amazing episode. It had, it has so much to offer. We saw how Rob started having trouble sleeping after he started to compete with his friends using trackers to see who slept the best. And this led him to like a really deep rabbit hole where things were really dark. But then everything started to change when he started learning, and he joined our Insomnia Immunity program, and it was just a fantastic episode. So I think there's a lot to learn if you're looking for education or hope. Either way, Rob's episode from yesterday was really nice. Now, that was the week, except for, of course, the weekly roundup, which is today. But that said, oh, sorry, can I edit this live? No, I can't. It's supposed to be 2 insights. I really found 2 good insights in that one. But anyway, learning from Richard now, let's take a look at his comment. And this was actually from last week's weekly roundup. So it was not technically within this week, but it was after last week's weekly roundup. So I still included it. And it was a wonderful comment. So I really want to share it. Here it is. And by the way, for context, the thumbnail from last week said sleep isn't a cure for insomnia, which somebody in the community, Andre B7, shared with us. And it's good to know that, because Richard's comment starts with a reflection upon this. So Richard said, "Wow, this statement is so true. After a 3-year struggle, this clicked with me a month or so ago. Things are so different now. I have the odd poor night, but still, who cares? Had an amazing day today. Went to a show 140 miles from home, went to bed 12 a.m., woke 4-ish for the loo, back to sleep, and up 5:30 to get ready and set off. Felt $1 million all day. The thought of this little sleep horrified me several months ago. Although I have been sleeping much better the last 6 months, a poor night would knock me for 6 and turn into 3 or 4 bad nights in a row. I've been stuck at this point for 12 months or more, thinking, I must get a good night's sleep every night to be over insomnia. But no, I was wrong." That's where the thumbnail, the text in the thumbnail comes from. "You just need to change your train of thought. It's been a tough 3 years, going from no sleep at all to a few hours a night, and finally to where I am now. It's a terrible thing to experience in the early stages and very difficult to overcome, but slow and steady wins the race." thought again this was a wonderful comment by Richard. And there's so much we can learn, including these two insights that I picked out. Number one, we can have a nice day after a choppy night, like Richard had. And sometimes for some of you listening here, this can seem impossible, incomprehensible. Like, how is that even possible? And often when somebody asks me about that, I think I say, let's think about like CSI, the show on TV, because oftentimes we can find that there's just this one piece of evidence. A police officer finds this one fingerprint that changes everything, right? The whole case is like turned upside down, right? And it can be like that in our lives too. We can find that, what, there was actually that one time where I hardly slept and I did fine the next day. And sometimes we just need that one piece of evidence to change everything, because when that pressure to sleep is reduced, when we see that, we can have an okay day if we sleep less than what we think is ideal, I think it's so much easier. That was number one. And number two was that insomnia really ends not when we sleep, but when we no longer are horrified, to use Richard's words, of not sleeping. And the question then can become like, how do I arrive there? How do I arrive at a place where I'm not horrified of not sleeping, because I am now? And what I want to say there is we can learn and study. On this channel, there's so much material that will be helpful to you, and we can educate ourselves. But then ultimately, kind of the final, when things kind of finally coalesce and click, there's often a little bit of a mystery around that. And this is where this North Star analogy that I'm going to talk more about in upcoming weeks can be really helpful. If you think about it, we often try to micromanage our minds. We try to instruct our minds what to think and how to feel and things of that nature. And it's just like when we don't like to get micromanaged, it just makes us nervous, and we can't actually do what we want to do, or what's probably is best to do when we're micromanaged. But rather, when somebody gives us a North Star, like, this is what would be nice to see happening, you figured out how to do that, then we can do our best work. And I think so it is kind of inside us with our minds as well. When we can educate our brains, and we can sort of show the brain that when we're less, when we try less to sleep, then sleep happens easier. When we're less scared of being awake, then the struggle with insomnia ends. When we just sort of show the brain those North Stars, but let it figure out how to arrive there, I think that can be so helpful. More on this in the coming weeks. So again, this was the weekly roundup. I hope you find all the answers just like Richard did. If so, that's wonderful, and please share your story with us. If you see the answers but you can't really grasp them, and you would like a little bit more help, support, guidance onto a place where the struggle ends for the rest of your life, then please head over to our website and check out our coaching options. We can help, and we would like to really help you. We'd love a chance to help you. That's what I want to say. So again, thanks for being with us this week, and can't wait to have you back next week. Until then,